Hey folks, Kiltman here, Kiltman at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Huh? What's that you're saying? I've got something fairy on my shoulders that isn't my own luxurious, ridiculous locks. It's a critter on one shoulder and, oh my god. Yeah, well, we best keep that one hidden away for the time being. Folks, I hope you're all doing very, very well. And welcome to a belated magazine edition on the Kiltman channel. Yeah, I like to try to do these things once a week, but I don't know, lots of things have happened and I've done other videos and this has got kind of fallen by the wayside. So we're going to do it now. And the date, for reference purposes, is the 9th of August 2023. Now, folks, the magazine edition is where we kick back, we shoot the breeze, we just talk shit about things that have happened, things that are happening, and things that may yet still happen. And the idea is, we're down in the pub, we're just sitting back and just all having a big natter. Well, I say all of us, it's me primarily, but you know, feel free to shout at me and do those things that as you get older, you do what your dad did. Your dad always shouted back at the telly, argued with people doing the wrong thing, argued with news presenters. Yeah, you can do that to me. But the idea is, you have a little drinky while we're doing this. So, in the spirit of having a little drinky, here's a wee drinky. And I have a feeling that I'm going to go through all of that in the course of this video. So, grab your tipple of choice and let's get started. Cheers, y'all. Now, I will say that I think the last magazine edition I did many moons ago was full of doom and gloom and bad news. And it's because the entire world was full of doom and gloom and bad news. And it still is. But I've made a conscious decision this time. I ain't going to talk about that. I think there's one element of badness. The rest is all kind of just madness and fun. So, because I want to keep things a bit more upbeat. There's one story here which none of us are going to like, but got to address it. Make that two, because news broke this morning of another bad incident, but which does need addressing. Here's why I undermine my own modus operandi, my own carefully prepared plans. And here's the gospel according to Kiltman. Here's all my notes, all my topics and stuff. So, right. What's number one? Time travel. Yeah, time travel. How can that be? They've done a poll. You know, this is... We polled 10,000 people. Have you ever been polled? Has anyone ever, you know, asked you all these things that you see on TV shows and that? Like, in a recent poll, everyone said they preferred really big, thick red lipstick, you know, as opposed to just naked lips. No one's ever asked me. Well, actually they have, but it wasn't part of a survey. But I've got a feeling that, you know, those people that stop you in the streets, you know, you're out shopping or you're going from pub to pub during the daytime hours, which I like doing, and you see someone with a clipboard coming towards you, and in my case, they always go like, oh, I'm loving the kills, loving, oh, by the way, it is the Royal Stewart, yeah, very nice and bright, and you go like, oh, I'm loving the kills, trying to get you on their side, and you just kind of go, yeah, fuck off, talk to the hand, not interested, haven't got the time. And they get the pretty ones, the girls that come up and they're kind of like, yeah, loving the kills. And they're kind of going like, you know, oh, just a moment at a time. You go, I'm not interested. Maybe they're the ones who are asking these really interesting surveys. Anyway, a survey was done, a poll was conducted. If time travel was a genuine option as a holiday option, where would you want to go? What time period would you want to go to? I'd love to have been stopped and asked this, especially if it's a pretty girl. I would have said, well, I've got a lot to say on this matter. Let's go into a pub and we'll talk some more. Anyway, so the top three came up and, you know, like time travel itself, we all want to do it. We all believe it's possible. Einstein believed it. He even put forward an entire theory of relativity. But we know from Back to the Future and other movies that you go back in time and you screw things up, oops a daisy, suddenly your grandparents aren't there, in which case your parents aren't there, and then you're not there either. The paradox. But then again, you are there, but you've changed the future, so you can still be in the past because you've done this and you are there physically. I don't know. Your head gets massively twisted with the whole thing, doesn't it? Anyway, so they asked people at random, if you could go back in time, where would you want to go back to? And I'll give you the top 3. And you're going to recognise something here from a very famous 1970s sci-fi classic movie, and then a much loved TV show as well, which followed only in recent years, which I gave up on after season 1, but it's got its fans. Number one holiday time travel destination was ancient Rome. Now, of course, I'd fit right on in there, although I'm sure I'd be drafted back into the army and sent off to the Germanic front. Oh God, I'm going to come back to sightsee. And ancient Rome was number 1. And the thing is, the survey that I saw didn't give the reasons why people said these things. So, but I understand, ancient Rome, it seems exotic. We're not talking like being on Hadrian's Wall or anything like that, or maybe North Africa. You think they're going, no, I want to go back to ancient Rome itself. They're building the Colosseum and, all these bloody fantastic marble and stone edifices. And, you've got the dawn of, civilization and politics and democracy. Yeah, as if. And, but great food, you've got hot baths and, you've got entertainments, you've got the games, you've got gladiatorial stuff. It's what a time to live. What a dangerous time to live as well. Life expectancy wasn't particularly great back in those days. And, if you can carry off a toga and sandals, be my guest. It ain't my idea of fun. I'd be strutting around in a kilt and probably getting massively persecuted for that as well. But anyway, ancient Rome was number 1. Number 2 was the Wild West. So, yeah. Now that would be one I would like to pick. And you've got a lot of options with the Wild West, I would have thought. Frontierland, you've got theme parks. Oh, by the way, in case you hadn't guessed, the lineup is pure Westworld, the 1970s movie, and the book by Michael Crichton, and then the TV show which followed decades later. And you had theme parks. It was Westworld, Roman World, and what would be third on this list as well. But the Wild West would be great, wouldn't it? The Wild West is not what we think movies have told us. We've had plenty of revisionist stuff about the Wild West, and I'm a massive aficionado and well read when it comes to the Wild West period, the frontier period, and the American Indian Wars, which I love and adore. And it's so not what the movies of the 40s, 50s, 60s depicted. The 70s tried to reevaluate things. 80s kind of brought back a bit more of the pomp and excitement with the likes of Silverado, and which was fantastic, of course. And it tries to make it look realistic, but it gave it a bit more sort of a comedy and not quite as serious and hardline and harsh sort of lifestyle. But the Wild West was not a great place to be. But us going back there for any time period would be like a time period. We're talking about time periods, aren't we? Us from modern day going back to live in like ancient Rome or the Wild West would find it very hard to do so, because they were rugged people who lived frugally. Violence was rife, and you were living in perpetual sense of danger from your own people, from other people whose lands you ousted from beneath their feet. So scary times, hard times. And the third one Medieval. Now I'd love that. I would love that. But once again, people will choose that because, oh, they've seen these films and like you've got Camelot. Without any shadow of a doubt, it's the likes of Camelot and King Arthur and Knights of Chivalry that's drawn people to go, oh, medieval, man. Be them damsels with the big, stupid, ice cream cones on their heads and all that, and like big buxom wenches serving mead, and like great big, huge chunks of beef, rah, and all that sort of stuff. And jousting, yeah. We don't play golf, we joust, and we do archery, and we hunt peasants for fun. Yeah, medieval world, as it was in the Westworld saga, would be, you'd have to be aristocracy, you'd have to be a nobleman, you'd have to have lands and your own castle, You couldn't be, you're not going to go back and be a peasant, are you? So, but I like the fact that it's three great things, which, if you said to me, what do you reckon the population would choose as their top three, I would have said that. Perhaps not in that order. I might have gone like medieval world first, then Wild West, and then ancient Rome. But how would it work? Because I got to thinking about this. How could it possibly work? So, if you go back to the British, the cult celebrated British comic 2000 AD, they had a long-running story called Flesh, and it was about multi-billionaire hunters from today, or the 1970s when they wrote the comic, who were like kind of like cowboys, big game hunters, who were sent back to dinosaur periods to hunt the biggest game of all, dinosaurs. Now, even though they dressed like cowboys, they had fabulously futuristic weapons to take down these things. Think Ray Harryhausen and Valley of the Gwangi, or Gwangi. I'm never sure how to pronounce that. I've seen the film a load of times and I still can't know how to pronounce it. Gwangi, Gwangi, I don't know. And obviously that all goes kind of tits up as well. And Flesh, the comic strip, always went tits up as well, because like these dinosaurs were like chomping down on these guys. But they had kind of strict rules. They couldn't go beyond. They couldn't just go and hunt dinosaurs. You couldn't go and eradicate certain species because that would affect the future. The paradox again. So, if you were able to do this sort of thing, and you were able to have time travel as a holiday option, you would have to have a thing, a procedure, a process, that you had people in the past who were either working with you, who knew about the future, and you guys. So you would send, obviously it's going to be another billionaires sort of trip, isn't it? Go back into the past, but you'd have strict parameters of what you could do. You'd have to have, like Westworld, a theme park sort of thing. But we're talking about real time travel here. So you'd have to go back there, and you'd have agents who were like working with you, looking after you, make sure you didn't step out of line, didn't wear the wrong gear to affect the procession of history. So you'd have to have a sort of segregated area. But how would you enforce that? Well, however you did it, but that's how you'd have to do it. People would go back and experience life in the olden times, a far different climate, far different foods, far different, cultural sort of aesthetic and social mores. So you'd have to be massively briefed on like what you can and what you can't do, and it would be segregated from the rest of the environment. And likewise, so if you've gone back in time and somehow you forged this relationship with the people of the past, well, aren't those guys going to want, you're coming back from this future you keep talking about. Oh yeah, you're paying us loads in our old money, but you're paying us loads. But what do we get out of this? I want to see the future. It'd have to be like an exchange thing, wouldn't it? So you're going to get ancient Romans who are going to come up to our time period. Or whatever. Because if you can mess with time, well, we'll come on to this. They'd have to come to our time period. And again, sort of be dressed as our people are dressed. Don't use me as an example, obviously, vest, kilt, combat boots, all sorts of pouches and weaponry attached to me. That's just on Fridays, don't worry. The rest of the week I'm completely safe, but to approach. It'd have to be an exchange, wouldn't it? They have to like learn, well, okay, you can come back to our time period, but you've got to go back again. And that would have to be how it worked. You'd have to have agents on that side who know the time and know the locals. It's like when you go abroad and you go on like a hiking tour of Colombia. You need people that know Colombia, that know the bad boys and know the routes not to take and the roads not to go down and everything about the local culture and the danger zones. You'd have to have people like that employed back in time. And it boggles the brain. But what a great flight of fancy though, isn't it? So I mean, the Wild West is we still consider that as sort of the bridging gap between sort of not dark ages, but early Victorian. Well, no, it's entering the Victorian age, which of course is the dawn of the modern age, the Victorian age, and the Wild West entered the Victorian period. So you went back to say 1870s, 1880s. I mean, I know where I'd go, and you guys know where I go. Oh God, I'm fucking wearing it, aren't I? I don't believe it. And that wasn't on purpose either. I only just realised. Yeah, 7th Cavalry and Custer's Last Stand. I'd want to go there. But you want to go there as a spectator, wouldn't you? To really work out, how did he fuck this up so badly? And you'd have people going back, and people who've seen it time and time again, I'm trying to shout out to Custer and certain company commanders, like, don't do that. Band together, form this, oh God, or just turn back, go back, Don't split the column up, don't send Reno that way, don't send Benteen that way, don't attack the camp, that's the middle of the camp, you're going to be surrounded. Oh, Custer, I've told you, I've been back 10 times, it's cost me £80 billion to do so, and you still don't listen to me, because you can't change time, can you? You can't change history. And that would have to be a thing, wouldn't it? Because if you do change history by whatever paradoxical means necessary, then everything has changed. And although we all want to go back and eradicate the likes of Hitler, you can't do it. You can't do it because the world we live in is born out of that previous conflict. And all the ideals and mores and the horrendous stuff that took place. Sadly, you need it. It's history. It's happened. You shouldn't change it. If you eradicated that, we're not going to learn from those ideas and bad philosophies. God, this was meant to be a brief section, just the opening segment. You get lost. You get tongue-tied and twisted. Time travel. We all want to do it. And we've all seen them pictures of people at historical events, like the Hindenburg coming down, and you've got someone there who's got like Ray-Bans on, and he's wearing Levi's, and those photos do look bloody genuine, they do. And you've got tons of things like that. But again, you've got to ask yourself, if that person really was standing there, everybody else around would be going like, okay, the Hindenburg's coming down, like, but person's name's horrific. But what the fuck are you wearing there? What's this shit? What's this? You keep talking into this thing and then going and taking well, we presume you're taking pictures. What is it? And if you had these avenues of time travel, these sort of like cosmic expressways, well, why are they linked from one period to that period? Then you could do any period, couldn't you? Any travel operator would be, well, we do we're going to the Zulu Wars, or we're going to ancient Mesopotamia, or we're going to the time of the pyramids, or we do this, we do that. Oh God, yeah. And you got some people, the big nerdy bastards who want to go back to the Industrial Revolution in Northern England. Still worthwhile, I'm sure. But so with all these avenues, well, what have you got there? You've got the multiverse, haven't you? And boy, are we not all sick of the fucking multiverse. I am. massively, because then anything goes. But time travel holidays, it's the stuff of movies, it's the stuff of comic books, and it is a flight of fancy. But don't get me wrong, if it became feasible, oh God, I'd find that money and I'd do it. One thing I can't do is put the lid back on this whiskey bottle. So while we're adrift in time and space. So comment below and let me know, what's the time period you want to go back to if you could do it and enjoy it. Got to remember, it's as a spectator and sort of, but you could live vicariously. It'd have to be an enclosed environment. We don't go into all the fucking details. Don't worry about that. Just say, oh, I want to go back to like the time of piracy on the high seas, the 16th and 17th centuries. Oh, I'd love that. Yeah, actually, I think I would love that. God, yeah, I can write that one down. That's where I want to go back to. So, time travel holidays. It's a thing of the future, or the past, or now. Who knows? There could be people bypassing us all the time, literally all the time, flicking back and forth, doing stuff, changing things. Oh God! Suddenly the Matrix suddenly appeared there. But anyway. Oh, okay. Now this is a bad one. I do a regular thing about like, and this sounds massively sort of like pure hate. And I do not hate Chinese people. I hate the Chinese government massively. The Chinese Communist Party. They are not our friends, and yet they've inveigled themselves into every facet of our culture, our technology, our political and industrial and medical infrastructure. They're everywhere. And I don't know if you've heard this. Well, if you haven't, I'm going to tell you now. Recently, they found a lab, a Chinese-run lab in Fresno, California. And when they went in there, apparently everyone had left the place. And it was like the Mary Celeste. There was like food on tables. There was, there was sake. That's Japanese, isn't it? Anyway, whatever. There were drinks left. Like someone had been tipped off, and they'd legged it. But the CDC in America found this place. They'd been tipped off about it. Went in there and they found this place had toxic waste. It had. Don't think I'm making this up. Just Google it. It's there. It's all across a lot of American news. Should be worldwide, to be honest. They had mice, many of which had died because they hadn't been fed for a fair bit, which were stuffed to the gills with COVID-19. They had files of herpes, hepatitis, malaria, HIV. They had pregnancy kits which were apparently about to be sent out. Pregnancy kits which they haven't said but could have been infected with some of these things. And a lot of the mice had died or eaten each other, sort of thing. So they ought to be destroyed. Bodily waste examples were just stored outside. What the hell was that about? So I think a top-ranking guy from the CDC, whose name was Chang, which sounds a bit Chinese, but he's American. He said, it's bio-warfare. He said, this is what they're doing. And we've probably hit the tip of the iceberg. We've allowed so many Chinese into the country, the mass Chinese who are getting over the southern border from Mexico and just infiltrating. The last figure I heard was, I think it was 114,000 had got into America. And the border control under Biden are not allowed to ask them where they're going, what they intend to do. Just, oh, hello, okay, yeah, you're a young Chinese man between the age of like 18 and 30, and go on, in you go, because we can't legally stop you now. And then just infiltrate America. So they're everywhere in America. And I've talked about those clandestine Chinese police stations in America, in Canada, across Europe, and in England and in Scotland as well. And they are massively illegal and conducting clandestine operations. When they get found out, they get closed down. But these guys, you can't arrest them. They bug out, they go back to China. And Beijing just, talk to my little Chinese hand. And, but all these, they're not families who are going into America, they're young men. So that's a standing army, that's a secret army in America. It ain't just me saying it. I wouldn't even talk about it if I hadn't read it and heard about it copiously from many other observers, spectators and vocal commentators on this sort of thing. So it's pretty damn bad. So this guy Chang said, we found this one in Fresno. How many others are there? We don't know what their operations were, but why have they got all these files of diseases? It's biological warfare. So, if, for example, this is what he said, if, for example, China does invade Taiwan, which is what the big threat is, and they think America will respond to that, which is why you got the fleet out there, the American fleet's there already. But if America responds, well, before we even invade Taiwan, we're going to take them down with all sorts of biological warfare. And we've got these guys, this secret army there, who can take down the entire infrastructure. There was a big report, I think last week, again I say I haven't done one of these for too long, and a British special intelligence officer said, we've been banging on about this for the last 2 years, that China, this is the UK now, that China is the big enemy, and they have people who are actively working to take down our computer systems in the Ministry of Defence, in the RAF, in the Navy, in all the government departments, and education and health industries. They could take us down in the blink of an eye, flick of a button, that's it. And all the economic systems as well, the banking systems would collapse. So, and the theory is, and America's agreed with this, this guy from the UK has been saying, I've been shouting about this for 2 years. No one's listened. They are the enemy. China's philosophy is you can win a war without firing a single shot. Because if you do all this sort of stuff, it takes down your supposed enemy countries. And if they lose all their infrastructure, they'll tear themselves apart. They'll have no ability to fight back, for one thing. It's a cohesive thing. Now you'd think that, we, being global superpowers, especially America, would have the ability and the knowledge to have backup systems. But given that Biden sold off so much of this, siphoned so much American billions of dollars to fund the Ukraine, to fund China and Russia for bear and tiger sanctuaries, do you really think the billions of dollars that they're sending to China and to Russia, who are meant to have cut all ties to Russia because of this illegal invasion of the Ukraine? Why are we still funding these supposed charities, which, oh God, if they were genuine, I'd agree with it. Look after bears and tigers, any endangered species, I'm right there. But you really think that money that's being sent over there is going to that charity? Of course not. It's being intercepted, and they're taking money off the very people that they want to destroy. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Doesn't bear thinking about, does it? It's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. But that's what they're doing. And the thing is, the Biden administration, they don't even look to where that money's going. They have nothing set, in stone. Like, we're sending you this money, this X amount of billions of dollars, but we want to see where it goes to, and we want to see it being put into practice. They're not even asking for that, which tells you another thing. That Biden knows. Well, Biden doesn't know anything. Biden doesn't know what time of day it is. Biden doesn't know what planet he's on. Let's be honest. Biden hasn't. He can't. One foot in front of the other foot. No, I don't believe that can work. I'm just going to fall on my ass every time. So Biden, big no-no. But the administration itself knows what it's doing. And of course they're getting sort of back-funded by China for all their little deals that they're doing But China's just laughing. We're taking more money off you than we're ever going to give you back. And then we're going to take you down. It's a frightening proposition, folks. It really is. So those of you who want to go back to like ancient China and view the Great Wall of China being built, if you do, sabotage it, you know. Cheers, y'all. And Kung Hei Fa Choi, that's Happy New Year in Chinese. It isn't Chinese New Year right now. Let me say again, I've got lots of Chinese friends around. Well, are they friends? The actors' friends. And I do love Chinese food, and we do have it regularly. But it isn't the Chinese people, it's the Chinese government, it's their protocol, it's the Chinese Communist Party are vicious, ruthless, and they are not friends of us, they do not like us. They don't. That is that's fact. Having worked for the government and the military for 36 years, and the constant threat in most of my career wasn't the country of Korea. Oh, that's still pretty bad if you go northern. But China was always doing little hacks into our government's computer systems, and we knew it. So it's not, this is not hyperbole, this is happening. And now you're finding Chinese labs on American soil, which is breeding malaria, HIV, COVID-19, which of course, well, we all know where that came from, don't we? And you've got toxic waste just flung outside. That's bio-warfare waiting to be ignited. And if they found one, as this guy Chang said, you know, that's the tip of the iceberg, there will be more. And if they're in America, they're going to be in Europe, and they're going to be here in the UK as well. And what the fuck do we do about it? Seemingly nothing. Seemingly. Anyway, so let's move on. That was the bad news. There is another bit of bad news, but we're trying to intersperse this. This is great. This is great stuff. Loch Ness. Oh, hi, Loch Ness. Up there, Inverness. 23 miles long. It's the second biggest freshwater loch in Scotland after Loch Lomond. And it can filter into the North Sea through a system of, it will bleed into other rivers and another loch, and then through other rivers it actually will enter into the North Sea. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? A Loch Ness Monster. Oh hey, Nessie herself. The biggest exploration and investigation into Loch Ness to find Nessie is taking place at the end of this month, the 26th and 27th of August. Have I got that right? 26th, 27th. I think it's a weekend. And this is a big organisation that are doing this. And this is the biggest exploration and expedition since 1972. There's been many more since, but they're not on this scale. The last one I remember was only a few years back. Oh, maybe it's about 10 years ago. But I remember watching it. You know, it was on like sort of day by day, and you had a flotilla of boats going up and down the loch, and it had a system of sonar, and they were mapping out. It's very deep. I think it's 230 meters. Hang on, let me just check that. Hang on, where is it? 200. Yeah, at its deepest point, it's 230 meters. Obviously, it's bumpy terrain there, and they've always reckoned that there are underwater sort of caves and tunnel systems beyond the filtering into other rivers and then other lochs where the water can travel, which we know about. There could be other little bits and bobs where water can get through, and if water can get through, something else can get through. Something big and prehistoric, maybe. A megalodon. A big Scottish megalodon. They'd catch it and they'd fucking deep fry it, smother it in batter. and that would be the end of the megalodon. The last megalodon was caught in Loch Ness, and the fucking Glaswegians, it's only like 47 miles away from no, it's more than that. I think it's 170 miles away from Loch Ness. They'd have fucking caught it and battered it and ate the bastard. But this big investigation, this big exploration is using new technology, thermal drones, infrared cameras, and what's it called? Hydrophones. Hydrophones are well, actually they're really big. There are big ones and there are small ones. They're going to use a huge array of these hydrophones, which are underwater microphones, to pick up obviously sounds, and the sound you could, like sonar, you're going to map and follow things that are moving through, which are emitting noises. So and they're actually appealing for people to come and join them as well, which is great. Now it's the end of this month, and we used to go to Scotland. My family, my dad's side of the family, hail from Fort William, which is a mere 47 miles down from Loch Ness, and maybe a bit more. It's about 50 miles maybe, and we used to go there all the time. We used to go all around Scotland all the time, but then COVID happened. Thanks China again, and we haven't been back since. So we're talking, this is probably about 4 years since I've been north of the border, and that's God's country, and it's also Kiltman's country, and I haven't been there for 4 years, and we hadn't been to Loch Ness for quite some time. So I'm saying, I'd love to go and do this now, go for that weekend. I wonder if we could. I'd have to really sweet talk Mrs. Kiltman, because it's her doing the driving. The A9, once you're on that, takes you up there. You can go around the entire Loch Ness. You can drive around it, you can cycle around it, you can walk around it as well. It takes a bit of time. You've got Castle Erkert, or Erkert Castle, the ruins of which is a wonderful, wonderful place. It's not what it once was. It did get sacked, it did get semi-ruined, so stop the Jacobites from getting in there. But Loch Ness is wonderful. I have many memories of going to Loch Ness, recent, as in the last sort of 10 years, and seeing nothing, folks, seeing nothing at all. Nessie was made famous in 1933, I think it was, the infamous picture of what a whale-sized creature with a long neck rolling about in the loch. By believable sources, you've got the big fake, the 1950s photos of the big fake and the big long neck proved to be fake. But there's been many operations and searches. You've got guys out there on the banks of the Loch Ness who make a living out of selling carved Nessie effigies and photos and stuff and they live in cabins on the banks of Loch Ness. But their major thing is just to try and capture a picture. The very fact that they've been there for so many years and selling knickknacks. Think of the poor Native Americans who are dotted all around the Grand Canyon, sitting there on poor little. It's their land, but they're forced into just selling knickknacks to tourists. It's their spiritual land. But these guys, I admire them, because it's one of those things that you want to believe in, and you cling to the belief that, like the Megalodon again, the Mariana Trench and the deepest parts of the ocean is an alien world to us. It's never been mapped out entirely, or anywhere near a fraction. We know more about the moon, and we lie more about the moon and Mars itself. But we know more about Mars and the moon, although they don't tell you everything. But we'll leave that. That's massively another story. You guys know it anyway. We know less about our ocean depths than distant planets, which is ridiculous. That's our nearest alien world, and there will be things down there. They will be saying that we're losing species to extinction on a daily basis, and you're losing. I don't know. I'm plucking figures from thin air here, but it is a ridiculous figure, like 10,000 species die a day. You're like, what? But it's microbes and plants and vegetation and stuff. And smaller animals, creatures, bacteria, what have you. But we're also finding that amount on a daily basis as well. So, as much as we're removing from nature, nature's bringing back as well. So who the hell knows what's down there? And we do want to believe that the Megalodon is down there. By the way, Meg to the Trench, don't bother your asses with it. What an absolute shit fest. I mean, you may have thought from the Meg, which I thought was big dumb fun, and I got a lot out of it. And I was looking forward to Meg to the Trench, and by Ben Wheatley, of all people, Ben Wheatley, a field in England, Kill List, and Sightseers. He was the wrong man for the job. You're going to wade through an hour and 20 minutes, a good hour of banal crap with Jason Statham just being the guy from Transporter movies. And I love Statham, but my God, what a bore he is in this. And then you get like the last 40 minutes of like 3 megalodons, a fucking giant octopus squid type thing, and there's something else as well. Oh God, and it's suddenly it's too little, way too late. The film is shit, folks. Don't bother with it. So I was going to review it, but I saw it and I thought, screw that. What a waste of time. So anyway, but I believe in the possibility of megalodons, and if I believe in that, I can believe in other creatures being in the deep levels of the oceans and in the deep levels of lochs that have, you don't know what's in these lochs. Loch Lomond is huge. Loch Ness is huge, 23 miles long. I think it's is it 2.5 miles wide at its widest? I can't quite remember that. But the Mersey's that as well. The Mersey's 2 miles wide. So, I back onto it. I back onto the cemetery. The Mersey's over that way. It's behind you guys. The big River Mersey. Dolphins, great big seals, and sharks have been seen in the Mersey. Yeah. As well as shopping trolleys, tampons, and stolen cars. But I believe that these things could be there. So they say, like, if Nessie exists, Nessie's a giant eel. There's been sightings since the 5th century. Some bloody priest was brought across on the ferry, and he actually, if legend is to be believed, this big beast came out of the water and snarled and threatened him, dripping water, and he stood there with the cross, no, back to the sea, heathen beast, and he did scare it off. Well, you've got these stories, and other people have seen things. There are loads of photos of strange shapes in the water, be they logs, be they, I don't know, an upturned hull of a boat. Ben Gardner's boat was all banged up. You should have seen him. I think I've got books on Loch Ness and the monster itself, and the whole myth and mythology and folklore surrounding it, and all the previous searches that have been done. And there are many, many photos which you go, no, that's not a normal animal in the water. It isn't. You've got the famous ones. It's funny, the famous ones always seem to get brought out whenever they talk about this. But there's many, many million more photos from people who are just tourists who go, what that? And that goes on Facebook, goes on, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok, fucking whatever, all that shite, YouTube. But that never seems to make the mainstream, and yet these pictures probably go viral, but no one ever talks about it, to bring it to the attention of the mass public. And if you look at these pictures there, I'm like, wow, what the hell is that? That's not a fish. That isn't a salmon or a trout. That's not like a dog that's, backpedaling across the loch. So what are they? It's not a kayak that's capsized. So what is it? I, in my heart of hearts, truly believe that something is there, or it certainly was there. So, 26th, 27th of August, this great big exploration takes place. And they're really going to... The thing is, it's only a 2-day thing. I really would have thought this would last a bit longer. Remember Ted Danson in the film Loch Ness? Oh, it's alright. I almost said it's a good film. It's fun. It's got a heart, it's alright. And but that journey lasted longer than 2 days, that exploration. I'm sure it did. So a 2-day huge exploration. Do you reckon you can do all this in 2 days? That's a big body of water. I think it's the second deepest loch in Scotland. But because of its size and its depth, I think it holds more water than any other body of water. Certainly in England and Wales and Ireland and Scotland. I think it holds more water. A lot of facts and stats about this, which I've probably got catastrophically wrong, but no, I haven't. It's a bloody big body of water, and it does connect to the outside sea, but via a huge sort of maze, a labyrinth of underwater corridors, feeding into lochs, feeding into other rivers, feeding finally into the North Sea. So this thing, if it's long and thin, could easily get in and out. Take its time, read its weird head once in a while. Anyway, so you've got that, which I think is great. So we're going to stick with underwater. This guy, Dr. Joseph Dutori, is a biomedical engineer with a PhD, and he just spent 100 days underwater. 100 days. Broke records doing it, actually. He wasn't just holding his breath, blob, 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 bloop, underwater. He was living in a 2-bedroom pod. He had like his bedroom area, and he had his kitchen and work area, and it was deep undersea off Key Largo, Florida, southern Florida. Now he works out of the University of Southern Florida, and he does. Let me get this right. Oh, did I write it down? Let's just call it biomedical, because I don't know what it is. I forgot the term. I didn't write the bastard down, did I? It's to study the effects of living in an isolated environment with a high oxygen level. Because he's living in these pods, but he's not like wearing scuba diving gear or a deep sea diver's suit. He's living, oxygen's pumped down to him, but it's oxygen rich. And he's doing studies, blood tests on himself, and he's doing lots of scientific stuff because he's a proper scientist. Although, and here's the great thing about him, he's called Dr. Deep Sea, but it's Dr. Joseph Dutori, and he spent 28 years in the US Navy as a deep saturation diver. So he previously done regular bouts of spending 35 days at a time underwater for US Navy purposes, which we won't go into. I know a few of them, but he didn't divulge any of these. But I'm sure he will when he writes his big memoir book on it all. And it's all tests on basically his quest is he wants to live to the age of 110 and live healthily to 110. Now, there's huge amounts of theory, conjecture, and research going into the effects of deep water and space, living in oxygen-rich environments. Space, oxygen-rich. You've got to pump the oxygen in, obviously. But isolation, and what does it do on your body? What does it do on your cells? And after 100 days, he broke records with this. So I think he's got a world record as well for this. And he was down there. He would go out. It was what do you call it? A moon bath? No, moon pool. A moon pool. So to get down to it, you have to swim down to it, and he comes up inside it in the moon pool, and then gets his gear off and does his thing. Lived alone as well, 100 days. So, but to get exercise twice a day, he'd go out and he'd swim around. But he's also studying the wildlife underneath there. Now, in the interview I saw with him, he talked mainly about seahorses and jellyfish. Really? Is that what you were studying? What about the megalodons and Nessie, who could have gone to the Bahamas and Florida for a holiday? You used to say that she doesn't, and in a little Nessie bikini. But you saw footage of him outside, and yeah, you saw seahorses and a jellyfish. But he was also giving lectures as well. He was working 6 to 8 hour days. That doesn't sound like a lot, I know, but it's still, because what else is he going to do there? You know, there's nothing else he can do really, is there? But he was conducting interviews with TV crews and news networks and that, like, and but also educating people in university. I think he did something like 5,000 students he was lecturing to on a daily basis, all around the world, sort of thing. And then doing really intensive stuff to people who are of a higher caliber, other scientists. And he's doing tests on himself, tests on wildlife. But the idea was does prolonged exposure to high oxygen content, isolated areas, prolong life? And he came up with the conclusion, yes, it does. But, cheers, John. But by the way, prolonged exposure to this and intensive research has proved that this does not prolong life. But it does prolong happiness though. Although, to my knowledge, no one's ever deep submerged themselves into whiskey and existed. Maybe that's my challenge. I should do that. What he worked out, and there's loads of terms which I did not write down, and I couldn't pronounce them anyway, where your cells, your bodily cells, after this kind of exposure to this environment, be it space, be it underwater, but high oxygen content and isolation, your cell, the cells that look after your body, that repair your body from injury, from bites, of which I have, mosquitoes that came from a lab in Fresno, California, via Wuhan. Your body, after this sort of exposure, the cells are quicker to rebuild and replicate, and therefore repair your body. So the effects on aging, it does sort of, your body repairs itself. You get older, your body is naturally going to get older, no matter what magical protein fucking shampoo you use or moisturizer you use. It's all bullshit, folks. It's all bullshit, that. But your body responds seemingly more and more from water and cold water. You've got the Iceman himself, Wim Hof, I think his name is, that Scandinavian Norwegian Viking bastard who took celebrities that live in the ice and dunked them under the ice on a daily basis. Now, it's worked for him. The guy lives in the fucking cold, but anyway. But there's a lot of theories about cold water. A cold shower does you good. It's massively invigorating, and it could also be the cure for not getting your end away. Oh God, isn't it funny how you don't get your endorphin rush and your big orgasmic fun and games, and your satisfaction, frustration? Have a cold shower. Weirdly, it works. So there's something to this, folks. There's something to this. Wow, we're covering some ground here, aren't we? And but he was saying these cells will replicate and they'll be stronger. They'll have more longevity as well. So your body's ability to heal itself is far greater. So you will, in effect, stave off the things which make you older and weaker because daily grind. So now you haven't got to spend 100 days underwater to do this. He said, go and find your, and it's the word I can't remember, but your biohydro something or other facility near you. Now I don't know if that's a term meaning just go and get in a swimming pool for a bit, cold swimming pool, and go and just submerge yourself for a bit. A couple of hours a day, maybe. You haven't got to spend days in that sort of thing, but your body will respond to cold water, and it suddenly has to regenerate itself and combat the cold. And once you build up a resilience to it, your body thrives on it. God, I sounded convincing then, didn't I? That's true. These things aren't true. But he come up with a term which I simply cannot remember. Apparently it also helps memory as well, so maybe I need to go and find my nearest facility for that and immerse myself. But his goal is to reach the age of 110. And but but be healthy at 110 as well. Not just being a decrepit old fool at 110. But anyway, now when I saw him interviewed today, they said, how old do you think this guy is? And one of the presenters, Joe, said he's 95, which he clearly isn't 95. And he looks like Clancy Brown, the Kurgan from Highlander, and such a great actor. Looks like Clancy Brown, but with slightly, well, hair like this, to be honest. And he was sitting there, and he went, you're not really 95, are you? Like, how old are you? Well, before he even said, I went, well, he's got to be like late 50s, hasn't he? But maybe he is like 70 or something like that. Do you know how old he was? He's 55 years old. Have I got that right? 55 years old. He fucking looks older. So, it's not, he hasn't proved a damn thing. He's come out 100 days, won a world record. But, oh my God, look at you. Yeah, you look not a day over fucking 59. He looks older than he actually is. So, shit. I'm still inclined to believe these theories and these ideas. But seriously, he does not look, he hasn't come out looking younger. Although having said that, I haven't seen a picture of him beforehand. I'm telling a lie, they showed a picture of him when he was the fabulous US military portraits, where they're stood by the stars and bars in their uniform and all that. And it must have been a good few years ago. But now he's got his long hair and all that. And he said to him, like, oh, it's work miracles for hair growth. Even that wasn't underwater. That was PhD. That was university, But I did like the guy. I thought he was entertaining and he knew his stuff. And I think there's a lot more to this than what he's genuinely said. So immerse yourselves in cold water. You know yourself. In the morning, what you should do. Don't wash in warm water. Don't do that. Wash in cold water. Fucking hell. Wow, yeah, it's not nice. And people doing the ice baths and all that, like, and getting, how long can you do it for? This Wim Hof guy, the Iceman, he was doing all this sort of stuff and advocating it. And a lot of people are doing it. But if you've got access to that amount of ice, fucking hell, well, good luck to you. We haven't. But then again, I live in Britain, so it's fucking freezing most of the time anyway. But if you swell your face with really horribly cold water, wow, God, it wakes you up. Fucking everything tingles, and you go, you look like you don't like it, because you don't like it. But the things you don't like tend to be the best things for you. Like eating all your vegetables and the boring stuff. Oh God. Oh, it can't even make it interesting by having sauces and other stuff with it. Just eat the vegetables raw. It's really good for you, yeah, but it tastes bad, But it's true. The things that you don't enjoy are actually the best things for you. What God came up with that? What Mother Nature DNA evolutionary trick was that to pull? Cheers, y'all. See, this is really, really bad for me, but I really, really enjoy it. So. But yeah, Dr. Deep Sea. Check him out. It's interesting stuff. It is. He does go. He did say this ridiculous thing in the interview I saw today. He said, "I tried to make science more fun and more amenable to students, because everyone thinks science is just white lab coats and Bunsen burners and test tubes and all that sort of stuff. Like, so I go underwater and I do all this, but it still wasn't massively exciting to watch. Look, a jellyfish. Hang on, you're off Key Largo. Sure, and the water was really murky and horrible. I don't know how deep down he was, but the water was really, really horrible. It weren't fun. And he's kind of clinging, wherever that pod is, he's kind of clinging to like these barnacle struts and ruins. It looks like the old struts of a really, really old oil rig. So it's kind of spooky, really, kind of scary. But Because you wouldn't see nothing coming towards you. You wouldn't see no megalodon or great white coming towards you. It's just thick with like mud and silt and horrible shit like. Right, let's move on. What's next? We've covered a fair bit here. Oh yeah, okay. I will say the other bit of bad news which came out today. There was a big security breach of the police computer in Northern Ireland, and for 3 hours it was laid bare, maybe more than 3 hours. So anyone could access this, and what they would do, they would get all the names and addresses of all the people that work for the police in Northern Ireland. Just take a second to think about that. About segregation, about the Troubles, the Catholics, the Protestants, dissident groups, terrorist groups, extremists. Oh, you don't hear much about Troubles in Northern Ireland these days. Still happens. Still there. The roots of it are still there, and I would love to think there could be full peace and a real eradication. Many TV shows and news programs love to try and say like Northern Ireland's, a lot of wounds have been healed over. It's a much different place. It is a different place. It's still a dangerous place for many people, especially police officers, serving police officers. And their names and addresses have now been exposed. I'm not sure how it happened. I'm not sure what caused this, but I worked with PSNI, which is the Northern Irish Police Computer, and the PNC and the Scottish Computer as well, when I was doing security vetting for many years for the Ministry of Defence, and then subsequently the Cabinet Office. Yes, I've had a varied career, and I've said things about this in the past which have been unsavoury about certain police constabularies all in the UK, and murderers and paedophiles and rapists who have somehow still either got the job, retained the job and got a higher security clearance, or been promoted. And they have these horrendous crimes on their record. Not only them, but ministers as well. Armed forces, still there, there's still plenty there, but the police was the one that bothered me the most of all. People you're meant to look towards, to trust. They're meant to, the American slogan, to protect and to serve. Well, you wouldn't want to go to any of these guys. Truly, truly shocking. One of the reasons why I took redundancy after 36 years, I couldn't work for this government and under those operating parameters anymore. I just couldn't do it. My conscience weighs heavier than that. So, but this Irish police computer hacked into, or I'm not sure it was hacked into, or someone left the door open, but suddenly everybody who works for them and all the serving police officers, their names, their addresses were exposed. So that could be, and this is again, this is no exaggeration, that could be a death warrant on those people. Had it been a handful of people that were exposed, they could be renamed, rehoused, they could be moved on, they could be saved. But this is possibly hundreds and hundreds of serving police officers. They can't do that with all of those. So you're going to have people who have now got access to that. And if they didn't spot it immediately, someone will be sending that information to them. And there could be tit for tat, horrendous crimes taking place. I'm not saying it will take place, but this is big news. This is an actually catastrophic, hugely momentous blunder. This has genuinely put many lives at considerable risk. How do you get around it? Our good friend and channel contributor, Captain Ronnie, knows a bit more about this. He's out there, he lives in Northern Ireland, and we were talking about it before. And if I was still working now, I would probably have a bit more info, a bit more intel on this. But I might still, I've still got many friends who are involved in this, so I might still be able to glean more intelligence on it. But as it stands right now, this is a catastrophe of immense proportion. These people are now living at risk. Real, but they always were, but at least it was covered up. They weren't known. Their job wasn't known. Now, anyone could have it. It's frightening. It's genuinely frightening. For the government, to any government and any authority which has all your details stored, to be broken into like that. I keep saying that as if it was there, as if someone from outside got in. I don't know this for a fact. I don't know if it was just somehow it was the security wall dropped and things were just suddenly out there, thrust out into the air, the greater digital world. I don't know how it happened. I can find out though, but my God, there's a lot of people now they were always scared. Now they're going to be even more scared. That is a blunder of huge proportions. They shouldn't be broken into, it shouldn't be hacked into. That should all be covered. There's multiple walls of security. But from the news that I heard, it wasn't even that someone got in, it was that they left the gateway open. I don't know. So folks, there was the extra bit of bad news, which it is horrible, horrible. I could go on about this. I won't. Because what we're going to go on to now. Oh, the regulars. What have I written here? Peeve of the week. Enjoyed, earworm, spook. Okay, we'll do the spook first. The spook is, as many of you know, the Kilt Mansion is haunted. I've discussed this many times, and the various things that have transpired, and people do always ask about it. What's the latest spooky activity? And as I always say, look, we can go months, even a good couple of years without anything happening at all. And when it happens, it's not even that spectacular. It's just things that happen. Things will disappear right in front of your very eyes. Things will move, and noises. Oh God, Mrs. Kiltman and the footsteps on the landing, and the light switch. I've said before about the light switch going on. Oh God, and whatever it was taunting me. The girl that I met in the Cask pub just down the road here, who I'd never met before and never seen since, said to me, and I was there with the dog, said to me like, "You've got problems in your house." And I was saying, and at the time we'd had a good 2-week period of stuff, phenomena taking place, and it was bothering me. And she went, I know what it is. It's a young girl. And I'm going, I was giving nothing away, trying not to give any information to let her work on. I let her do all the spiel, but what she said made a lot of sense. Apart from, I said, well, how can this, if it's a little spirit of a little girl, how can it move things like this? How can it tear things down all at once? All the posters on our first landing, we've got many landings, it's a big house, and all the posters came down one by one, and it was just, oh my God. And I wasn't even there for that. It was Mrs. Kiltman that witnessed that, and then she told me, and she's not one to exaggerate or prone to flights of fancy, but she's grown used to all this incidents and stuff, so she knows these things inside out, and she's witnessed probably a lot more things than I have in many ways, and told me about them only afterwards. But anyway, she said it's a young girl, and I said, well, how can a young girl, for example, flip that switch? How can she even reach that switch? She went, no. In their world, physics don't apply. They can do whatever they want. They could lift mountains. They could, there's no physical sort of limit to what they can do. They're spirits, but they can still manifest a physical reaction in the real world. So I was like, oh shit, yeah. She was like, anyway, we'll meet again and we'll talk more about it. Never met her again. I've told this story. There's a lot more to that story, but I'm not going to go into all that right now because I've done it before. And I still haven't seen her since though. Isn't that bizarre? Isn't that truly bizarre? Anyway, there is a latest thing, and it's a cold spot. And well, people who've been here go like, the entire fucking house is freezing. It could be baking, you know, outside, absolutely, you know, cracking the flags, and but inside you're shivering because there's cracks, there's holes, there's, you know, it's an old house. We've actually got the deeds, the original deeds to the house from 1901, and the original two guys that built the place built it, and all the deeds of the lands around it. So it's great, and they've both got a pair of ridiculous names, which unbelievably I've forgotten now. But one's got a really stupid, horrible name like Slap or Schnapp or something like that. Anyway, so it's an old place and it is crumbling apart. Like, so you get drafts and stuff like, but we've got double glaze, and then we've got some insulation, and we've got bits and bobs which cover it. But I mentioned the first landing where the posters all come down, but there's another one, two. Oh, I forget this wrong. Oh, 1, 2. Posters with the second landing. Sorry, second landing. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth landing, we should say. I know, I get confused all the time. I get lost in my own fucking house, you know. And I was going up I was doing a video on the Seven Voyages Sinbad the other day. If regular viewers will have seen it. The great canvas art, which is up there right now. It's over there. It's right there. From our good friend, super channel contributor, Steve 007 Smith. A canvas artwork for the Seven Voyages Sinbad, the great Ray Harryhausen stop motion animation fantasy movie. And I thought, well, because I guessed what it was, even though I hadn't opened the box. You guys know all this. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I've got a cutlass. I've got an old style, you know, pirate style cutlass from probably dated about the late 16th century, and rusted to hell. But I thought, I'll get that and I'll have it in the background, because that's the kind of cutlass that Sinbad wields in that movie. So I went up to go and get it. I know certain areas where certain weaponry is. They're everywhere, but I knew where this should be. But anyway, the bastard wasn't there. And that's in itself another one of those mysteries, because I haven't found it since. Many of my things go missing in this house, and it's the spook that's doing it. So it weren't there, but on the way up to where I thought it was going to be, I was on the stairs, I just got up a landing and packed the fourth landing, and like went through. I'm like, Jesus, froze to death instantly. Every hair, Wim Hof style. It's like a massive ice bath. Jesus, and I'm like, and you know, your back arches. Oh God, your nerve centers all go into fucking apoplexy, like that. And I stepped through, but I went up the stair, and my foot actually hovered above the step because it was frozen and like in time. Finally, I got through. Jesus, and warm flooded back. What the fuck was that? I thought, have I just had a stroke? Is that what epilepsy is all about? I really didn't know. I was doing all this. God, it bothered me that much. So I thought, I went upstairs, couldn't find the cutlass. Come back down again thinking, hang on. This is where I got that fucking horrible cold rush. But I thought, that's bullshit. Walk down the next step. What do you think happened? Nothing. No. It happened again. But because I think I was expecting it, it was nowhere near as bad. And I thought, hang on, I was freezing cold. And I got the impression that it was like a vertical channel of pure cold. Because if it was across the landing and the stairs, then I would have felt it as I was coming round that other landing to go, this landing to go upstairs. And it didn't do that. So I looked up thinking like, what's going on there? And we've got like a few roofs to this place and different angles and stuff like. But is there a fucking hole there? No hole, nothing. And like, got my hand through, freezing cold. I've got, I mean you can't see it, but I've got hair. little. I'm like a blonde-haired werewolf. I know this is not blonde. But the hairs on my arms are blonde. If I had jet black hair, I would look like a fucking gorilla. I really would. I'd be pure wolfman, pure lycanthrope. So I've got, hairy hands, hairy fingers, and all that. But I can't see at all. But and put my hand through, and when it come back, they were like fucking. They were massively, the little tablets. They were like massively erectoid. It's like Jesus Christ. So my son was in. So I called him. I said, "Get your ass up here. Come and see. Just go in there." And he got to the other landing, and he was like, "I don't want to do it." I said, "Son, I explained what it was." He said, No, I don't want to do it." And I was like, "Oh God, just do it. It's another one of these phenomena. It's something happening. Maybe we can film it. We could do a video." Although I don't know how that would come across. That's freezing cold, because you just see in there, you wouldn't have seen any of the hair standing up or anything like that. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't walk through it. And so I was like, oh God, I didn't find the cutlass. And because so many things happen here, I just put it down to like, oh shit. It's another one of these things. There's no draft coming through. It wasn't like that. We didn't have a cascade of fucking ice cubes coming down. It was just a channel which was literally one stairway wide. So you're talking like what? That. Yeah. Put your foot on that. But it was that channel you walked into. You walked out of it. Put your hand in. Whoa. Anyway, so we went down and we talked about it. I had a cup of tea to warm myself up again. Went back upstairs again, thinking now when Janet comes over, Mrs. Kiltman, oh she'll love this. She'll love this. But now you know. Went back and did it again. Fucking wasn't there, was it? Now, it's easy for me to sit here and go like, because I understand all this, that you might not believe it, but well, I'm not lying to you, but it might not be what I'm saying it is, and I know that as well. But given the amount of weird things that happened in this house, I am putting it in that category in the Daily Kiltman Journal, Kilt Mansion Diary. Yeah, that goes on the spooky page. Yep, cold spot. Icy cold, but it hasn't happened since. So again, and we've got nice weather right now, but we've had really bad weather, and the temperature did drop. Plus, we had tremendous just endless rain. So but I wasn't walking through the hole in the ceiling and the roof, and walking through a sheet of water. It wasn't that at all. So what is it? Again, I don't know. I don't know. And I haven't found that cutlass since. I've looked for it since. I haven't found the cutlass. It's almost like it kind of knows, oh, you want to use this. It's random. The amount of things that I put on display and things that I go and find. But you regular viewers know a lot of things do go missing. A lot of things happen behind me on camera as well. People said about orbs floating around, orbs on the videos, and well, to be honest, they could just be dust floating around in the sunlight or whatever. But I've seen some of these things. If you go to 15 minutes 31 seconds, you'll see it go from right to left, and I've gone like, oh shit, that does look weird. And there's many videos where this has happened on. And many things where my displays just come down out of... I know I'm a clumsy fucker. I know I am. And you've got that. You've got to consider that as well. But so many things have just come down. And even a poster, when I used to film the other way, from that way, facing that way, and 4D, you remember this, because it was the poster for Night of the Demon, one of our collective favourite movies of all time. And a poster I put over the top of it just tore itself off in the corner to reveal the Night of the Demon poster underneath. And it was like, what? How did it do that? Tear off a corner of itself? Anyway, these things happen. So folks, right, let's get on to the right? The baggage, the nuts and bolts, the peeve of the week. Peeve of the week, right? This is something that's just pissed me off. Normally it's an external sort of thing. This one's internal again to Kilt Mansion. And it involves one of the things I love most in my life. No, not this. My dog, Roxy the Husky. Roxy, the dead ringer for Jed. The Thing dog from The Thing. We have a lot of floorboards here. Well, obviously, but exposed floorboards. Because we like them. We like not to. We throw rugs down. We don't do wall-to-wall carpeting. Oh, many rooms have got that, but the hallways and some staircases and various areas of rooms have just a big rug might be on it, but floorboards, because it makes a great click clatter when you're walking down it. It gives you the impression of walking through an old US cavalry fort, or better yet, an old Spanish galleon, some haunted schooner. Clomp, clomp, clomp. You got that wooden clanking noise. It's beautiful. Anyway, well, for quite some time now, and recently it's gone into like a real overdrive. My dog has took to lying on the exposed floorboards in the hallway, the grand hallway, the main hallway. She lies there because she gets if you open the back door, and the windows in the front room are open, so you get this through drop. So she lies there because it's been hot, obviously, and outside, but not in here. But for a dog with a husky fur coat, double fur coat, she likes to lie there. But she's also worked out that she likes the sound of her own claws rasping on the wooden floorboards. Oh dear God. Once she starts, she won't stop. And then she's shuffling around and changing position, but she's making sure she does it with massive, multiple amplitude of clawage on the wood. And it goes on for ages. Now, you think that could be actually a therapeutic sound? You'd be wrong. You'd be wrong! It drives me fucking mad. And I love that dog to bits. I put up with so much with that dog, I'd kill for that dog. Again. And but you could be lying there on the chaise lounge, you've got a movie on, you've got all the speakers on, even the ones across the ceiling, you've got all the speakers are on, but it could be the most bombastic of action scenes. It's going to hear there go. Oh God, she's doing it again. And it's like she knows and she's enjoying doing it. I'm gonna distract me dad. Because I know if I do this often enough, he's gonna come out and pay me some attention. Oh God, it fucking works. Because you go out like an ogre, oh you fucking stop that. And then you see it like, you go, oh I love you. And you fall for it every fucking time. But she's doing it on purpose. Look, that's the claws. She's doing it on purpose. God, it does not drive me mad. I'm getting worked up just thinking about it now. Even worse than Chinese biowarfare labs hidden in your country, But you gotta love these dogs. I love that they know what they're doing as well. I love that little cunning, canny little trick. Look, I know this is pissing him off, but I'm loving doing it, and I'll win at the end of the day. He'll give me some treats. He'll come over and pet me and stroke me, but he can't shout at me despite how much he wants to. It's power that they've got. Bloody power. That's my peeve of the week. Fucking dog claws scratching on wooden floorboards. And she's probably weakened the floorboards quite a bit as well. So at some point soon, I'm going to stride out. Right, I'm off on a big pub crawl. Yes, I've pumped some iron. I'm looking good. Off I go and fall right through the floorboards into the dreaded cellar area. enough said about that. Things I've enjoyed this week, this past week, maybe more. Zulus! I'm playing Zulu and Zulu Dawn soundtracks. John Barry's Zulu score. This is right now Elmer Bernstein's score for Zulu Dawn. And again, regular viewers know why that is, because I took delivery unexpectedly of a great Martini Henry modified to a Martini Enfield carbine rifle from the Zulu Wars and subsequently the Boer Wars. A weapon I've always wanted. Even though I grew up in a house with 3 of the bastards and my dad got rid of them all, I never got one of them. But the weird thing is, the guy I got it off knew my dad, and I've known him for a while. And he just said, you're Fred Mack's son, aren't you? And I went, yeah. And I've known him for ages, and he's way older than me. And he went, oh, I used to come to your house when you were a kid and you had a big thing for hats. Fucking pantomime or what, like. And I used to wheel and deal with your dad, military and stuff. And I've got a few things which I've probably got from him. And I've actually got I've got rid of most, but I've still got a rifle there which you might want, and it was the Martini Henry converted to Martini Enfield. And what I don't know is that might actually be. I'm pointing to it, it's over there right now. I'll go and get it. This might actually be one of the ones that my dad had. Yes, I've still got the tape around it. If you saw the video on this rifle, this carbine, if you haven't seen it, I recommend seeing it. I talk about this in depth and all the markings and its journey through many campaigns and many years of active service. But what it didn't have was this 4-stock here. And he told me, he said, it doesn't have the 4-stock, but you can have it free of charge. So I took it, and it's great, it's wonderful. But I had to add something here. Now, Regan, my good mate Regan has found me some options to get this stock put on properly, which I'm going to use. But at the moment I haven't employed them as yet. But I've had to just bloody masking tape, gaffer tape, for God's sake. Anyway, Zulu Dawn's playing, so let's. It feels great, and I think I like, even though this hopefully will not be made, and I'll get it put on properly with the actual steel bands, hopefully, which you can get for the Martini Henry and Enfield variations. You can get the bands for them. What was I going to say now? I just love sitting here, playing with this, watching the movie, and oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. When the Boers fought the British, the First and Second Boer Wars, and the British were still using these, and the Boers used an enormous amount of different weaponry from all over Europe and that, like a lot of their own customised weapons as well. It kind of looks like it's been camouflaged, you know. So I kind of, even though this is ridiculous and it's got shite, it's masking tape. And you kilt man, shut up about masking tape. It looks ridiculous, but it does look like someone has tried to camouflage their gun, you know, to blend in with the landscape. So anyway, that's how I get around it. But at least now I've got the 4-stock and I can play with it to my heart's content. Here's a beaut. Okay, so I've enjoyed watching and listening to the Zulu soundtracks and watching the Zulu movies, and wow, you can expect a lot more on that. There should be, I should do commentary tracks for Zulu and Zulu Dawn. Dog's now swigging water before she goes back to scratch some more floorboards to oblivion and beyond. Right, folks, I know that This has gone on for an hour and a half almost, and most people have probably just signed out by now and they're like, oh, God, Jesus. But anyway, we've got another thing to do, and that's the earworm of the week, which is where I play a bit of music which is meant to get inside your head and mess with your brain and just stay with it. And you go, oh, I can't get out of my head. I'm gonna have to go and buy that soundtrack. I'm gonna have to go and buy that track. I'm gonna have to do. I can't eradicate it. Yeah, because I'm cruel like that. Now I could say it'd be any of these tracks from Zulu and Zulu Dawn, which are extraordinarily fantastic. But no, what did I write down? I wrote down 2. Isn't that great? I'm gonna give you 2 earworms. Now I've also got a feeling that, because I've done these so many times now, and I may have actually done this track before. I don't know. We're gonna go back to. I've got a feeling I have done this before. A Stephen King movie adaptation from the early 80s, and with this horrible little shit in it, yeah, the little troll that's terrorising Drew Barrymore, and the cat General comes to save her, you know, and but the film's Cat's Eye. It's like an anthology. It's only 3 stories in it, but the cat is involved in each of these stories. But finally, it goes to save Drew Barrymore from the little troll, and the film ends with this great 80s bop ditty called Cat's Eye. I do not know who wrote it, who sings it, what the group is. I don't know nothing, but it's an earworm. So let's say goodbye to Isandlwana and the Zulu massacre of the British there. Although, having said that, this is Saving the Colours. Can I really just step away from this? Because there's an earworm here. There's a theme here which recurs about 3 times in the movie. So we're going to have this. Well fought, gentlemen. It's time to save the colours. So you got Christopher Cazenove, and I'm talking about the wrong track altogether. This is Denford's Last Stand. Burt Lancaster as the one-armed. He didn't lose the entire arm. He was stabbed under the armpit by an Assegai Zulu spear, which severed the nerves, and his arm was strapped into his tunic. But he fought like a bastard, and the Zulu said, like, that one-armed Induna. An Induna is officer or commander in Zulu. So that one-armed Induna, he fought like a madman, and they said he was shooting it with a revolver, he was using a sword, then he was using anything he could find to beat the Zulus down, and then finally he was overwhelmed and killed. And they said, my God, massive respect to that guy. And this is him getting killed. I know I've gone off on a tangent here, haven't I? But fuck me, you know, it's Zulus. But Lieutenants Melville and Coghill, Christopher Cazenove, and James. Forgot his name now. Are assigned to save the regimental colours. Take them to safety, Mr. Melville, sir. They didn't make it. In reality, they didn't make it. In the film, they depict it pretty well. I will talk about these movies. I will do Zulu and Zulu Dawn very properly because they're so huge in me. I want to do them justice So it takes effort. But listen to this. This could be the earworm now. This is the chase music that Elmer Bernstein's done a good couple of times in it. And you've got Simon Ward as the right-standing Honourable Vereker, who's a fictional character created out of 3 or 4 other characters from the real-life battle and conflict. And he rides with them. They go over the neck of the hill of Isandlwana, where all the Brits are getting massacred there. And they ride into the river, plunge across it on their horses. The horses get knackered, but the Zulus are waiting for them on the other side. So that's Melville and Cargill being killed by the Zulus. And here's the fictitious part of the movie, because the Zulus take the colours, the flag, regimental flag, and run wearing stolen red tunics, laughing their heads off. And Vereker's there, Simon Ward, with that rifle, the short carbine version, because he's a cavalry officer. And he's like, no, he's pin-breathed this horse, he's dying. One last shot. Take the shot! And he dies as he takes that shot. And what you don't see is whether he shot the Zulu running with it, or he's just shot the actual flag mast itself. But the flag then falls back into the river and gets swept to safety. But that's the fictitious side of it, like. But it's that chase music, which is, God, we could just use that as the earworm. It's so fucking gorgeous. But the little troll says, no, it's Cat's Eye. Alan Silvestri did the score for this movie, and he used a Synclavier synthesizer. I have reviewed the movie as well, actually. But this theme song during the end credits is pure 80s, but it's ultra catchy. It's great, isn't it? It's a horror film, but it gets a pop, jazzy, 80s, big shouldered, big head end theme. The unawares. How you stole my breath away. That's the thing. The parents worry about cats stealing the breath from the daughter, Drew Barrymore. That myth. This is going to be going through your mind. And apologies if I did this before on a previous one. I may have done, you know. pure 80s rock ballad, isn't it? Troll. Troll no more. Yeah, it's just good fun. Right, so folks, your homework is time travel destinations and ideas as to how, it could really happen. Are you going to go and join the Loch Ness expedition and go offer your services to drop, hydrophones into the very cold water? Again, Wim Hof and this whole sort of cold water thing's good for you. Don't go swimming in Loch Ness. It's very, all year round, it's incredibly cold. You have to acclimatise. You have to dip in and dip in and dip in and dip in and then come back next day and dip in again. You can't just jump into that. You will die. What else did we cover? What else did we cover? So, Chinese laboratories. Are they good for us? And what else did we do? Oh, we did loads. So yeah, is it wise to live underwater for 100 days? Again, he wasn't like, he was living in an environment pumped in with oxygen-rich sort of atmosphere. Crazy stuff. And he came out looking older than his real age. Now he's actually a year older than me right now. Yeah, I know, but I'm whiskey ravaged. And I said, don't base that. Don't put a picture of him next to me. Although I'll be honest, I think I do look better than him. So maybe whiskey is. Maybe I'm right. I've been right all along. Scientists and health bloody gurus, I've got the whole thing wrong. They're all going the wrong way. Alcohol's banned for you. Still got my hair colour. I'm not bald. All my friends are bald. All the people I grew up with are all bald. And the ones who aren't bald have gone horribly grey. Maybe it's a lifetime of drinking and a little bit of which has saved me. Folks, have been Always Shelby Kiltman. Please, in the meantime, in this ever fucking ridiculous world in between time, please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. Just be happy, just be yourselves. Time travel. If I could time travel, I'd go back and probably redo this video. Folks, please live long and prosper and smile at someone today. Wherever you go, whatever you do, project some of your inner happiness to somebody else, because bad news and evilness is contagious, but so is happiness. But the media doesn't like to present that. Just promote a happy vibe, and then everyone around you will be happier just because you've done it. Anyway, folks, please. Where the hell is the Voyage of the Demeter in the UK? The greatest chapter, the greatest untold chapter of Bram Stoker's Dracula. The ship he goes from Transylvania to Whitby. The Demeter. It's a big movie. It's worldwide on the 11th of August, 2 days time from now. The UK has no release date for it. All our cinema chains, all our local independents, no one has got The Voyage of the Demeter. The film I've been looking forward to almost most this year. There were a couple of others. Mission Impossible, and that was great. Indiana Jones was fucking shite. But this, I want this movie. And it's not showing in any cinema. It's not even listed as coming soon. Everyone else in the world has got it in 2 days' time. Where is the last voyage of the Demeter? What's happened to that movie? Don't worry, I will find it. By fair means or foul. I'd rather go to the big screen and watch it properly, legally, but if I'm not allowed to do so in time to review it, I will find illicit means. And I will watch it and I will report upon it. So, distributors, you've got yourselves to blame.